and welcome back to the EF5 Podcast, the crossroads between logistics and life. And I don't have a squeaky chair, and I know what we're talking about. So
it's a good start.
It is a good start. So today, what we're going to talk about is competitors, and it's not necessarily competitors in, sports or, maybe you got a friend that always thinks something is like kind of a challenge, like he always wants to one-up you. No, we're talking about it in a business, right? So
We're talking about business?
talking about business. We're getting down to the business, you know what I'm saying?
We're talking about practice.
Talking about practice. We're talking about practice. But no, so basically what we're going to talk about is why competitors are good. Because, for me, like growing up, the people my age, a lot of them want to kind of like monopolize, right? They want to be top of the totem pole. They don't want anybody to really mess with them because they want to be the big guy. They want to be the one that has everything. So when they're starting their business, they have that in mind. And, there is like a degree that's correct about that, right? Like you want to push yourself to be the best that you can be, and you want to be number one, but you don't want to be alone in terms of the business, right? And that's not this industry related. It's everywhere.
There's good and bad, just like anything. I think it's what you're saying there. There's good competition, there's bad competition. So just found out, as you mentioned, starting at the beginning, the thought is competition's bad. Any of your competitors, that's bad. You don't want them in your industry. You want to own it.
Right.
And so as you go through it, you realize you can't do it all. There's no way. That's why there's Coca-Cola and Pepsi.
Right.
Some people like Coke, some people like Pepsi. It just is what it is.
Right.
And so you're not going to make everybody happy. So just by the sheer nature of that, you need competition. You need your competitors there.
Yep. There
needs to be that alternative. Now, there's a balance. You don't want to just say, well, they like them, and I just have what I have. Like you want to beat them,
right.
But you don't want to beat them at all costs where you're doing the immoral things and the negative things to take their customers, take their drivers, whatever it looks like that competes with them to make that hurt them intentionally. You want to do it naturally in a positive way. And then you realize through the process, 20 years into it now, that you actually can talk to them and they can be your friends.
Right.
You don't have to hate them.
Right.
Because that's what you're saying at the beginning. You feel like, oh, I can't even talk to them. They're going to take my business.
And realistically, everyone's shooting for the same goal, right?
Correct.
Everyone wants to be at the top. But the thing is that you don't get to the top without
You don't get to the top by pushing
else.
people down. You get to the top by working your way up.
Correct.
And along the way, you help others. And believe it or not, at least from my perspective, and I think a lot of people have this, is at the beginning of business, when you're building it and growing through it, you think they only got there by pushing people down.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize they actually will help you along the way too.
Right.
Because they realize the same thing we're sharing now.
Yep.
That it just makes them stronger, makes the industry better when there's healthy competition and you actually can be cordial with each other.
Yeah.
You don't always have to agree. That's why you run your business and they run theirs.
Right.
So you're not going to be on the same page in maybe business processes, the flow of your operation. However, you can still be actually friends with them. And most of the people that Ed and Andy talk about it, Ed Milet and Andy Frisella talk about it, it kind of ladders up. You get a 5-year window, you get a 10-year window, you get a 20-year window. As you level up in years of your business, you end up learning more. And you realize your competitors are actually together more than they're apart from each other or battling each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I mean, think about like, I don't know if this is the best example, but it's the first that comes to mind. It's like Walmart and Target. Like they're pretty similar if you think about it.
Here's a good one. Think about 2008, the economic collapse at that time. It was Ford, GM, and Chrysler all went together to Congress. Ford didn't need the help at the time. The other two did. Ford went with them.
Okay.
Because there's a balance that all three of them were buying from the suppliers at the time.
Right.
They all had their various product they sold.
Yeah, realistically, Ford could have just left them in the dust.
They didn't need it.
Yeah.
But they needed their vendors to be part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So they needed to support them. They could have figured out a way. However, they chose to go with their competitors to make sure they were in the industry to compete against them.
Right.
So that's a kind of like a real life scenario where that you're like, wow, when you sit back and think about it, you drive down the car lots and everybody's competing for your business and they're all selling you whatever is better than the next guy. However, they all stayed together. And there's a fine line. You can't collude in business and you can't price fix and things of that nature. Right. But there's a reason why there's Nike and Adidas. There's a reason why there's Coca-Cola and Pepsi, you know. And so I don't know. It's kind of something that I feel like is misled when you are an entrepreneur and you're starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to kill your competition so you can win.
Right.
And there's a point that there's bad competition too, don't get me wrong.
Well, you got to run a fine line too of, you still have to have a scarcity aspect in it too. I mean, if everyone's starting clothes business, I mean, the only thing that's going to appeal others to your company isn't necessarily going to be the competitor or the competition of who's got what. It's just a matter of how much they really like what you bring. And
here's like another thing that people do that's a misconception is if you were my customer and I come in to see you, a future customer, and I come in to see you, and then you share with me you're using my competitor, we'll just call it Company A, and what youthful people do is they start talking about Company A. Oh, they're not that good in this. I don't know why you use them for that. And I kind of did that when I was first in business, and then I realized, one, like that's just negative. Like I don't want to wish anything or build a negative around it. Experienced business owners, explain to them what I can offer you.
Right. Even if they deserve it. That's the
harder one is when there's a lot of things that you want to share just to protect that customer.
Right.
But you just move on. But what's interesting through is when you move on, like you end up gaining more respect along the way too.
Yep.
And you don't realize it when you don't know what you don't know. So
and you gain that respect from other people, from peers, from competitors, even. And then to yourself too.
And then what ends up happening, we see this in everyday life with people, is you get so consumed with what they are doing, you don't realize what you're not doing.
Yep.
And like most of the time in our industry, I couldn't tell you too much of what's going on with any other company. I'm so focused on what we're doing here.
Right.
I don't have time to worry about what they're doing over there. I can't do nothing over there for them.
Right. And you being the owner, the big guy, right? You would expect something different. You would expect you to kind of know what the ins and outs of everybody that you would be competing with, because you almost are like having to one-up yourself to a degree to be better than them. But like we're talking about,
don't mistake that though. You're aware of what they're doing. You just aren't consumed with what they're doing. That's what you're talking to your staff about. Company A has got this going on, and we need to keep up with them, or we want to go make sure they're out of business.
Right.
That's kind of what I felt like I saw other people in business. That's what you were supposed to do, and that's so far from it, because it's not moving your ball to what you can do for your customers and what you need to do for your company.
Right. You're not losing sleep at night over
what
other people.
And then what you end up finding out once you mature through the process of business, you end up finding out that competitor that you thought you hated is actually a pretty nice guy, and they're just like you. They're trying to work hard to move their business.
Mm-hmm.
And then what ends up happening is when you get 15, 20 years into business, then all the crap that is coming at you with new people coming into the industry, they see it like we're talking about.
Yep.
So at the 20-year window when you're in business for a period of time, there's only a few left that have been that long.
Right.
They don't have time. They all recognize that.
Right.
They're not consumed with trying to take me out of business. They're consumed with growing their business, keeping their business lively, taking care of their employees, servicing their customers. And sometimes they run into fits that don't fit.
Right.
And you end up giving business to each other more than you end up competing against.
Right.
Because you realize like it doesn't fit with what you're doing, so call so-and-so.
Yep.
They can help you better.
Yep. and the people that really come, with a crosshair trying to target people, they don't last long.
No, and they might have gotten to the 20-year window. At some point, it's going to catch with them, and then you don't network, you don't build relationships, and sooner or later it's exposed.
Yeah, and if it's not catching up with them on the business side, you definitely
so
know personally.
Yeah, there's something that will come back around, and you can. And now here's the interesting. Everybody who's in that 15, 20-year window area, they all know those ones that are still just making it by.
Yep.
And I can assure you others don't go out of their way for them either.
Yep.
And so it's all negative that comes from that perception, like he's a competitor, that company's a competitor, I want to see them go out of business. That's why that's your rally cry every morning at your current business that you run, probably not going to work.
Yeah. So outside of the negatives, let's look at the positives. What are your key takeaways at the end of all of this?
The positives of your competitors?
Correct.
You meet new friends, and they're going through the same experiences you're going through that you can't explain to others because they understand it with you.
Right.
So you become actually pretty great friends with most of them because you're all on the same page. You're all going through the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then collectively, the awareness to provide that service of that industry gets stronger for your customers. Because if here's a great example, we're in the transportation business. So if there's an interstate shutdown in Atlanta, and I'm aware that competitor company A is over here does the same thing and heading the same way, I'm going to give him a heads up too. Because we're friends. Well, I don't want to see him get stuck and his driver, who I know that may even have worked with me.
Right.
Whatever that looks like. So there's a lot of cool experiences that people on the outside looking in, like, how do you talk to him? Or why would you sell a truck to him? Like, your relationships are stronger with your competitors in a lot of cases than anybody else.
And it's crazy too, right? We work together in the transportation industry. We work together in all kinds of industries with our competitors and with our friends and viewers. And that's why I need the viewers to work together with us and make sure that you are, I say this because it helps us see the reflection of what you guys do. If you have a Google account, Gmail, anything that can log into YouTube, I don't even know. I think maybe Outlook does it if you're on like a company one. I have no idea.
Look, you're being tracked everywhere, so just go ahead and track it right now.
Listen, just because you're not signed into Google doesn't mean they already don't know that you're
They listen
at
to the microphone,
They
just like
do.
they're listening now.
They do. So, since they listen to you and you listen to us, I want you to listen to me. You like that?
That was
A little
good.
bit of hopscotch right there.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Go get you some.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. You can only subscribe if you're logged in. So, sorry.
Share it either way.
But you should share it. More people need to hear it. More people do.
We got more coming.
And it's not because we want your viewership and we want, your
You need
cool
all
stuff.
the money when you share it.
Listen,
we don't get any money, okay?
All of those behind him, all of the merch, that stuff, we give it out.
Just gotta ask.
Yeah.
Gotta share, maybe.
We're not sitting here begging you to pay for it. That's out of our pocket. So
He's begging me to pay him, but
that's why it's working. That's why I'm still here, right? So, but anyways, that's the gist of it.
we out?
I guess we out.
We out.
We out.